Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Been a wild series here in Cincinnati on Friday night, leading off the 10th game-ending home run by Devin Mesoraco. The pendulum, however, swung the other way yesterday. In inning number 12, Matt Adams' his second home run of the game, and the Braves in 12 win by a single run. What is in store today on this Sunday afternoon? Well, we do know it's another beautiful weather day in downtown Cincinnati. Crowd rolling into Great American Ballpark. Rubber game of this series between the Braves and the Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jeff Pecoro, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Early this year, the best pitcher undeniably in the Reds rotation was Amir Garrett. He was sent to the minor leagues to keep an inning on the number of innings he would pitch this year, to keep an eye on that. Since coming back, Chris, he's not been the same guy. Went on the DL, activated, and will start today.
Well, he went on the DL not with an arm injury, went on the DL with a hip injury, something that has bothered him really for quite a long time in his career. Never missed any time, either on the basketball court or on the baseball field, because of that right hip. You see him testing it right there. He had a good bullpen the other day where he's able to finish his pitches, something he was not able to do his last couple of starts out. So we're hoping that Amir Garrett is able to regain the command of that fastball and changeup that he had earlier in the year when he was really dealing.
One of the great mysteries the early part of this year is his mount opponent today, and that's Julio Teheran. At home, he's awful. On the road, he's really good.
Well, you know, I don't know if it's early enough in the year to worry about that or not, but I do know that this young man who made his major league debut at age 20 years old is now 26, and he's no longer the hard-throwing 94, 95-mile-an-hour pitcher that he was. So the life on the fastball may not be there. He's really struggled with left-handed hitters, and that's why today you're going to see Scooter Gennett in the lineup, of course, and Tucker Barnhart behind the plate. Brian Price trying to load up with as many lefties as possible.
Yesterday, a couple of injuries, and Jeff Pecoro, when we return, will bring you up to speed on shoulder injuries yesterday to two-thirds of the Reds outfield. Scott Schebler and Billy Hamilton. That story when we come back on Fox Sports Ohio.
Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup, only your tri-state Chevy dealers. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good, it's Skyline time.
Here from Local 12, just like yesterday, it's going to be another warm day. You know, we had 87 degrees yesterday, and we have that same high temperature coming up today. It's going to feel a little bit warmer out there on the field because we have just a touch more humidity than what we saw yesterday afternoon. So it's going to be another warm one, but guaranteeing completely dry weather. Any remote chance of showers will hold off until after sunset later on tonight. Enjoy the game here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Hot and humid, that means the ball is going to fly, and the Reds are going to be a little bit short on the bench today. Why? Well, in yesterday's game, they lost not one, but two outfielders, Scott Schebler and Billy Hamilton. Now, this was a play early in the game by Billy Hamilton. Now, he stays in the game after making that catch. Now, this is a different play. Comes in, jams the arm a little bit there, had to leave the game after that. You see him playing with the shoulder. And then later in the game, in the 6th inning, Scott Schebler makes this diving grab. So great defensive plays out there in the outfield by the outfielders, but Schebler had to leave after this play as well. Now, both of them are said to have left shoulder strains. Schebler's, though, he says, is a lot like a football stinger injury where the arm actually went numb.
As I got back into the training room, the feeling started coming back and the strength was good. So they said that and it felt stable, which is a good sign. So now it's just trying to get the inflammation out. I'm thinking maybe a game or two and hopefully at the very worst Tuesday.
So that's basically what a stinger is in football. It numbs the shoulder all the way down to your fingertips. Now, Billy Hamilton did, before the game, go out in the outfield and play a little bit of toss and long toss. So he may be able to play today, or in the best case scenario, at least pinch run where he wouldn't have to test that shoulder. Schebler, though, says it might be about Tuesday, as you heard him say, before he could play. So stay with us when we come back. Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh will set these opening day Sunday lineups for you, and we'll have the first pitch. It's the rubber match between the Braves and your Reds, and the first pitch is coming up after this.
The lineup on a particular day, and on the mound for the first time, Chris Welsh, since May the 23rd at the big league level, is left-hander Amir Garrett.
He's a nice sight to see out there too. Hopefully Garrett is going to be safe, as not safe but healthy. That is, as he continues this start. He had one recent rehab bullpen session that he thought went very well, but you really wonder how sharp he's going to be, having not been on the mound in quite a while.
Let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves lineup he'll be facing in the rubber game of this series. Inciarte in center, Swanson up to the 2-hole, Kemp in left. Garcia 4 hits yesterday at third. Adams a game-winning home run. In fact, he had 2 of them, including a grand slam yesterday. Flowers catching. First start for Santana in right, Camargo at second, and Tehran 4-4 on the mound. And the numbers in this is 9th start presented by Mazda for right-hander Amir Garrett.
Yeah, one interesting note really from the Braves standpoint, they have not faced very many left-handed starters all year long. In fact, this is only the 5th time this year they will have faced a starter on the mound opposing as a left-hander. So maybe Garrett has something working for him right there. He started off the season with a bang, 12 scoreless innings to get it going. Since then, kind of an up and down freshman campaign.
Strike one to the leadoff man, Ender Inciarte. He is in center field, a .284 batter, having a nice year. 5 home runs, 19 runs batted in, 10 stolen bases. Many of you know the story on Garrett already. Began the year was lights out. First 3 starts, 6 innings, no runs, 6 2/3, 2 runs, 7 innings, 2 runs, and then had a blow up in Milwaukee. But came back the next 2 starts and was very, very good. At that point, the Reds made the decision they were going to manage his innings and send him to the minor leagues. Well, since coming back up, he has thrown 9 innings and allowed 13 earned runs. 1-2 on Inciarte, and a liner into center field on a 1-2 pitch, a base hit. Defense presented by Ford. Changes in center and in right after injuries to Hamilton and Schebler. So Alcantara and Jeanette getting the start. Jeanette just his second as a right fielder, the regular infield, and Barnhart hanging the signs. Alcantara today his 6th start in center field.
Watch Inciarte at first base. The Braves don't have a lot of guys that like to run, but Inciarte is one of them. He's got 10 bags on the year. He's been thrown out 4 times. Word gets around. The scouting report on Amir Garrett is not much of a move to first base, except for the quick step-off move.
Swanson still sub 200, the batting average at 194. He has 5 home runs and 20 runs batted in. He had 2 hits in the series opener, including a home run. Former #1 overall pick, then by the Arizona Diamondbacks, came over in that big deal prior to last season when he eventually made his major league debut for the Braves. That was in the Shelby Miller deal, and he was just blown away in that at bat by Amir Garrett.
Now Garrett goes right up the ladder right here. I think he wanted to pitch inside, but he got away with a high fastball because at 94 it has no life.
Left fielder Matt Kemp having an outstanding start to this 2017 campaign. A one-time regular All-Star as a Dodger. And that one in the air easy for Jeanette. And I made the comment a moment ago about Alcantara making his 6th start. That's 6 overall this year. As a center fielder, he is making his 4th start of the season. Well, that's a tough way to go when you lose Hamilton and Schebler in the same day. Although, as Jeff Picoro mentioned earlier, and we talked about it during Reds Live, neither player expected to go to the disabled list. That's very, very close at first base on the pickoff move.
Well, the Reds have been unlucky with respect to the injuries to their pitching staff, especially starters, but they've been very fortunate so far with no injuries to their starting 8.
Well, the only guy that's had to miss a little bit of time here and there has been Cozart battling, you know, that injury, but by and large, he's been out there every single day, and boy, what a year he's having. Still down the trail in the fan balloting to start the All-Star game for the National League team, although his numbers would warrant a start, not just a trip to that game in Miami. He leads all National League shortstops in hitting, hits, triples, extra base hits, RBI, slugging percentage, on base percentage. Can't do much more than that.
Everything but the vote.
And he is behind Corey Seager of the Dodgers and Addison Russell of Chicago. Big day yesterday for this guy, Adonis Garcia. Career high tying 4 hits, stole 2 bases. First time he's ever stolen more than 1 single base in a game in his major league career. And the runner will advance on to second base.
You can tell early on that Garrett not going to be one of these days where he's really sharp. He got away with a high fastball with Dansby Swanson, who chased one out of the zone for strike 3. He's bounced a changeup in the dirt, and then on the consecutive pitch, he threw a fastball right by Barnhart all the way to the screen. So you're just trying to find your rhythm out there. He hasn't been out there on a mound since the middle of May, and that's a long time, especially when you have to take time off because of a leg injury. His was a hip. Well, you don't get to do the same exercise. You don't get to throw off the mound to stay sharp and in rhythm. That's why I'm a little surprised that the Braves are as aggressive as they've been, especially Matt Kemp making it out on a really weak swing on a first pitch that he sees from Garrett.
Three balls and 2 strikes on Garcia, and Garrett to the plate, and we'll do it again. Ciarte in scoring position with 2 outs here in the opening inning. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Garcia. And a broken bat roller at Cozart to the glove side, and that'll be all for. Oh my gosh. No such thing as a sure thing.
Boy, that's for certain right there. I mean, just about as easy a ground ball as you will field, and he just kind of airmails it. It's kind of a half throw right here, and the kind of mistake that you rarely, if ever, see Zach Cozart make. Although Joey Votto didn't exactly soar above the rim on that one.
So 1-0 Atlanta, and a 5th out now for the Braves here in the first inning. And here's Matt Adams. Well, he had a Mount Adams kind of a day yesterday. 2 home runs, a grand slam, and then that go-ahead solo shot in the 12th inning. It's interesting to note that Adams' slam was one of 7 hit in Major League Baseball yesterday. That is a new single-day Major League record. Prior high was 6, set back in May of 2000, but 7 grand slams around baseball yesterday, and of significance among the 7 was the one hit by Albert Pujols in Anaheim last night, the 600th home run of his Major League career. Fly ball deep left center field. Alcantara is there, and the inning is over. So an unearned run. We played a half inning. Atlanta won. Reds are coming up. Away with a run after the rare throwing error by Zach Cozart. The Reds will have to play catch up as they've done already in the first 2 games of this series, rallying late on Friday night, rallying from 5-1 down yesterday, eventually to lose in 12. Their batting order presented by Menards. Peraza, Cozart, Votto, Duvall, Jeanette, Suarez, Alcantara, Barnhart, Garrett. Against Julio, Tehran.
Tehran now 26 years old. He's got 4 full seasons in the major leagues, and this is his 11th season with the Braves organization. Signed as a 16-year-old out of Colombia, Cartagena, Colombia. In fact, it was former Red scout and front office advisor Johnny Alvarez that ended up doing the signing to get Tehran into a Braves uniform. He's been a pretty good pitcher overall. This year got off to a horrible start. I mean, the month of May for many of the Brave starters was just one they'd like to forget. But he's putting it together little by little here in the last 3 starts.
Yeah, his last 2 outings, he's gone 6 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, gave up 3 runs in a no decision against the Pirates. And then in Anaheim, his most recent start, 6 1/3, gave up 3 earned runs in a win. And he has always been sensational for whatever reason in his handful of starts against Cincinnati. 2-2 record in 5 outings against the Reds, a minuscule 2.23 ERA. In the last 4 games spanning 27 innings, he has given up 3 earned runs against Cincinnati. Away by Peraza 0-2 today, the 30th time in Peraza's young career he's hit in the leadoff spot. And a 309 batter when batting first in the order. And apparently after you get ahead of a hitter, no balls and 2 strikes, a meeting on the mound, and I think that it's the catcher just needing a break here, because this one got a piece of him. Yep, right on the right elbow.
Boy, he really exposes himself right there, doesn't Flowers behind the plate. I mean, his elbow and hand are completely exposed. That ball would normally have hit the shin guard right off his elbow. That's his throwing arm. So if you're a Reds player, you ought to take note of that. I mean, you get on base, even if you're maybe not a guy who would be normally a base stealer other than Peraza, but I mean a guy like Cozart or Suarez, Jeanette. These guys, you know, you may want to test and see how that arm, whether it's barking or not.
And that's a base hit by Peraza into right center field. Tell you, he is starting to really come on for the first time this season. Is Peraza. Last, 19 games, better than a 300 batter.
And he hit a home run yesterday. It seemed like for such a long time, Peraza was the only time he was making contact was when he was just dropping the ball just beyond the reach of the infielders. Now he's driving the ball a little bit, staying behind the baseball, letting it travel more, and keeping it out of the air. A little line drive base hit. See if he's off to the races.
You go back to the very beginning of May. Peraza has put together a 9-game hitting streak and a career best 13-game hitting streak. That's the longest such streak by a Reds batter this season. And we know he can run. 14 of 16 in stolen base attempts so far this year. Here's Cozart. Talked about how the Braves as a team have had a hard time shutting down the opponent's running game, and that certainly would be the case with the pitcher on the mound today, Tehran.
He gave up 17 stolen bases last year. They only threw out 3. This year he's already given up 9, and they've thrown out 3. So obviously that those opponents that can run, they're testing the Braves.
The way Peraza takes his lead, he doesn't give you the appearance, and maybe that's by design, that he's going to be running. He has his hands on his knees, and you rarely ever see that from guys who are really good base stealers. Those hands will come off the knees and in a much more athletic position. But again, that's not to suggest that he won't run, even with that kind of start.
You know, we did a tech talk down in spring training, Tom, with Eric Davis, who was one of the better all-time Reds base stealers, and he had a very interesting take on the way he approached it. He would take a lead and almost standing straight up, because his theory was that when you take a lead bent over, and even with your hands on your knees, you're bent over like that, the first move you make is up and then you run. I mean, Hamilton crouches, but he's not really bent over all that much. I think Peraza is probably a little more bent at the waist than Hamilton would be.
One ball, two strikes on Cozart. And it'll stay right there after the foul ball. Reds come in at 25 up, 29 down. They're in fourth place in the Central, but only 3 games behind first place Milwaukee. Brewers have lost each of the last 2 games against the Dodgers. Gave up a big lead yesterday. The Cubs have won back-to-back games in their series over the weekend against St. Louis. The finale of that set later tonight. We will see the Cardinals starting tomorrow. A 4-game series, night games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wrap it up with an afternoon tilt on Thursday before the Reds head west. They'll go to Los Angeles next weekend and then San Diego next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Runner going, and a high fly ball into left field, and Cozart has given the Reds the lead. What a year, what a year, what a year Zach Cozart is putting together.
Yeah, I think with Zach Cozart, it all starts being patient at the plate. He's not chasing anywhere near as many bad pitches out of the zone as he used to. And he has become patient and smooth with that swing and that effortless ball that just jumps right out of here to almost down the left field line.
Eighth home run of the season for Zach Cozart. Well, we've talked about the Reds are one of 3 teams in baseball to have at least 4 players with 10 home runs or more. And Cozart all of a sudden is knocking on that door to be a 5th.
Well, Tom, you mentioned yesterday the 7 grand slams that were hit throughout Major League Baseball. Home runs are on the rise. There is no doubt about it this year. A lot of people have little whispering different theories as to why. One of them may be the ball is wrapped a little tighter this year because it certainly seems to blow and go farther. But
Otto shoots one to the gap in left center field. This will be extra bases. So single, homer, double. First 3 batters of the game.
I don't think we've seen anything yet as far as home runs and the ball flying. We've had a very cool spring overall, not just in Cincinnati, but throughout the Midwest and the East. When the weather starts heating up, this ballpark, man, oh man, it may be a great place to get a souvenir.
And maybe the best example of home runs and home runs flying. If you had to pick 3 teams in Major League Baseball that had 4 players with 10 or more home runs, one of the last teams you would pick for multiple reasons their roster, their ballpark, the division they play in, for that matter, would be the San Diego Padres. And they're one of the teams, along with the Reds and the Washington Nationals.
Used to be impossible even to hit a home run out of there until the weather got really warm. And that's not until later in the summer in San Diego. And, of course, warm is relative for those that live in that climate.
Oh, and one on Adam Duvall. He has 14 home runs, 45 runs batted in. Reds out to a 2-1 lead, and this should be the first out of the inning. A lot of changes from the first two games of this series. The Braves defense presented by Ford. Santana gets a start in right. Camargo at second. Everybody else right where they've been the first two games. 2 in, 1 on, 1 out for right fielder Scooter Gennett. Gennett very disappointed following the ball game yesterday. He had a couple of very, very, very important trips to the plate when the Reds had multiple chances to win that game before reaching the 12th inning, and Gennett, along with his teammates, unable to get just even a simple fly ball or ground ball that would have won the game. Camargo will throw out Gennett. Brandon Phillips getting the day off today, and on to third base goes Votto. It's kind of curious, Chris. I don't mean to throw you on the spot on this, but I was a little bit surprised. I'm curious if you were by some of the comments made by Brandon Phillips about the jersey number he wore here for many, many, many years, number 4, that the Reds so soon would give that to any other player. I don't think he was singling out Scooter Gennett. It's just anybody wearing it.
I tend to kind of agree with Brandon Phillips a little bit. I think he was kind of shown the door here in Cincinnati for a variety of reasons. I mean, after all, when the Reds traded him to Atlanta, they paid $13 million of his $14 million salary on the way out. And there really wasn't a whole lot of talk about the prospects they got in return. So it was more of addition by subtraction, I think, from the standpoint of the front office of the Reds. And I think Brandon probably thinks, hey, of all the years that I was here, I see the kind of reception that they give returning players, and they didn't extend that to me. So he's probably feel like he's a little singed.
Suarez with a runner at third, 2 runs home, 2-1 Reds lead at last of the first inning. 2 are out. Good pitch there. Under the hands on the inside corner. Two balls, 2 strikes. Votto at third with 2 away. Strike 3 called on the outside corner, but after a leadoff single by Peraza, Cozart plays long ball, and the Reds out to a 2-1 lead.
you know, when it happened, I was really upset, you know, because I thought there was something more that I could have done. But, you know, things happen. But now I know, you know, got to focus on those little muscles instead of all the big ones, and, you know, we're just going to work from there.
And Tom and Chris, one of the things he went on to say is, you know, he's a big, tall guy, obviously, from playing basketball. He's always worked out with weights and stretching his big muscles. He said, you know, it's the small muscles that he's never paid much attention to, and that's what he said he really has to work on for baseball and basketball. And you know this as a player. Those small muscles are the ones that get tweaked, and they're the hardest ones to try to get back.
Chris, you might know something about muscles. I don't know anything about muscles.
I'm not sure, really, what Amir Garrett means by that, except that's probably something the trainers told him as to why his hip hurts.
Well, you know what's interesting about what Jeff was just talking about is, you know, every year ESPN, the magazine, they put out that body issue, and much was made of Jake Arrieta when they put him in that particular issue last year. And inside of that article, since he was a very young boy and kinesiology was just sort of kind of starting to catch on, although certainly not in the mainstream, how it was all the little muscles and every little muscle and everything he did from an exercise and workout standpoint that was designed specifically for both large and small muscles that a pitcher would need to perform their craft. And of course now he has completely shifted gears and is almost exclusively using Pilates along with some weightlifting.
He certainly knows more about it than I ever will. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know anything about, you know, how pitchers condition themselves nowadays to pitch. I do remember, though, you go back to anecdotes, you go back to sayings, and they would, you know, I remember trainers and weightlifting guys, we didn't even have strength coaches. They would ask you, do you want to look good on the beach or you want to be able to pitch?
Really? Which did you pick?
Well, I said I'd both. And neither worked out. and really, back in the day, Tom, really, the only thing pitchers would do, they would do some leg work in the weight room. But other than that, they'd always use ultra light weights. You know, we used to call them Dr. Job exercises. You know, where you take a 2 or 3 or even 4 pound weight at the most, and you do a lot of reps and very light weights. Now I think they've gone much more aggressive. Pitchers and ball players overall, that's why you see them so much stronger now than they used to be. And you wonder if some of that has to do with the frequency of injury that you're seeing among major league players, especially pitchers.
Pick?
Thing I was going to add, Chris, is I've seen so many more injuries to these guys. Look, we all remember back in the 80s, Kevin Brown, and he was a really good pitcher for a few years, and then he started breaking down. And to me, you've got to be, and you pitched, you got to be loosey-goosey and have some fat on you. I mean, I'm amazed that Michael Lorenzen can do what he can do with that body because of what you have to do as a pitcher.
Yeah, you know, I think if they knew what was going on and what caused the injuries, they'd fix it. Right now, they're just trying to get everybody stronger and faster because it's shown that if you throw harder, it's harder to hit. And so the basic logic is I want to draft pitchers that throw hard. I want to get all my pitchers in the organization to throw hard because, you know, we want that to be the calling card of our organization. And I think every team is out there doing the same thing. I mean, if you're a 90-mile-an-hour college pitcher versus a 98-mile-an-hour college pitcher, you're going to be way down in the draft compared to the guy that throws harder. Now, no telling down the road who's going to have arm surgery first.
Well, I think you talked about it the other day when we were discussing with Tom Verducci, and so much was made for a while with all the data that he compiled, and, you know, then presented a theory about the number of innings from one year to the next and leading to injuries and who would be injured and how much of an increase percentage-wise from an inning standpoint did they have from one year to the next. But I thought you made the pertinent point that in more recent years it seems to be the harder you throw, we're seeing more of those injuries. I mean, that would make perfect sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, it's like, I don't know, being a golfer. I mean, all the people who are amateur golfers, if you went out and you swung as hard as you could on every shot that you took, first of all, you're probably going to be wild. Second of all, you're going to end up hurt. But if you swing at 80% or 90% instead, you can all of a sudden have control and kind of play within yourself and your own. And even, Tom, if you look at the major league pitchers who are most successful, these are guys that kind of pitch within their range. It's a balance that pitchers are trying to find. How hard can I push it and still keep good command? And if you can find that balance, you'll be a good pitcher.
3-2 on Santana. And that ball is in the air, deep left center field. Drifting back is Duvall, and the Braves are right back on top. Danny Santana. In just his 36th at bat, this guy had 4 hits all year, and that's his first home run.
Well, he had some decent years with the Minnesota Twins, including his rookie year when he hit 7 home runs, drove in 40, and he played in about 100 games. And they're really wondering what they have here in Atlanta with Danny Santana. Didn't play much last year with Minnesota, same way for 2016. He had a sprained shoulder that was really restricted his playing time in the last couple of years.
Garrett all of a sudden has become quite wild in this inning. He walked the leadoff man. He fell behind to Santana before giving up the home run. And now 2 balls and no strikes on Johan Camargo.
You know, I'm wondering if he's feeling that hip at all, because we showed you a couple of shots during our open when he was just warming up. He was kind of lifting his right leg up and down and up and down. And, you know, maybe testing it. Do I feel it? Do I feel it? And that's one of the things that happens when you're an athlete, is that if you feel it at all, even if it doesn't hurt, it's going to take you away maybe from what you should be concentrating on.
That ball is shot into right center field like out of a cannon. And this will be an extra base hit as headlong into second base goes Camargo. You know, Chris, we talked early in the year, a couple of articles that were written early this season and referring to Amir Garrett already as being a great pitcher, and we talked about how he had had some excellent outings, very good outings. Had the one bad game in Milwaukee, but then came back with 2 very good outings before the Reds made that decision that they were going to start keeping an eye on his innings and send him down to the minor leagues. What has been the difference? And now all of a sudden he's starting to get hit around pretty good his last 2+ starts.
He's getting the ball up. I mean, as simple as that. With the first few times out, Amir Garrett threw everything at the knees.
Perfect bunt by Tehran. He'll advance a runner on to third, first out of the inning.
I mean, his fastball was down there, his changeup was down there, and his command was there. Now, if you see where Barnhart is setting up and then where Amir Garrett is delivering the baseball, I mean, his delivery just not there. He might be rusty because he's been out of action for a while. Maybe he's still got a little tenderness in the hip, who knows. But right now, he's just not right there with his release point. And he did such a good job of keeping things simple. Right now, it's getting kind of complicated for him.
Infield in, Braves lead 3-2, and a roller foul off the bat of Ender Inciarte. He singled into center field and scored on the rare defensive error made by Cozart in the opening inning. Cozart came right back and said, "I'll make up for that," clubbing a 2-run home run in the bottom of the inning, but now a 2-run home run by Santana in this second frame puts Atlanta back in front. 0-1. Popped up. Who's going to get there? Will anybody get there? That falls in a hit. And it is 4-2 Atlanta.
Boy, the advantage of just putting the ball in play instead of a strikeout. Here he gets a really good pitch by Garrett. Low and away slider. I mean, Garrett gets what he wants right there, which is a weak pop-up, right? No, not when you hit it into no man's land.
Now Dansby Swanson struck out his first time up. Atlanta begins the day 7 games under 500, 23 up, 30 down. It is a stunning lead that we have just turned the calendar into the month of June in that National League East for the Washington Nationals. The Mets are in second place, 6 games under 500, 10 games behind the division leading Nationals. But believe it or not, that is the second largest lead among all divisions in baseball. There you see the NL East. In the American League West, Houston, the only team in baseball to reach 40 wins. The Astros have won 40 of their first 56 games. They've won 9 in a row. And the Angels of Anaheim are 1 game under 500 as a second place team, 12.5 games the spread. How about that year for Houston? That is just incredible.
Well, right now, Tom, you have teams that are playing well over the 600 winning percentage. And that's not likely to happen when you take the entire season. Just take, for instance, last year in the American League. I mean, the Boston Red Sox won 93 games. They played 574 ball. The Indians won 94. They played a little over 580 percentage winning. And the same for the Texas Rangers. So right now, the Houston Astros are playing, you know, they're winning 71% of their games. That's not likely to happen, at least based on history. Same thing for the Washington Nationals. They're winning 63% of their games. That's going to be dropping probably down to more like 58%, 59%. So, you know, things begin to even out after a while. But what does happen this time of year is that you begin to start putting a line down the standings and say these teams are sellers at the trading deadline and these teams are buyers. And if you're well under 500 at the time the deadline comes around, you know you don't have a shot and you're not going to add on.
Broken bat roller to Cozart. He will throw out Swanson at first base. On to second goes Inciarte. 2 out.
We talked about it a little bit when we were in Toronto playing against the Blue Jays. I mean, they got off to a horrendous start. 2 wins in the first 13 games, 6 wins in the first, 23 games. So you start doing the math and say, what percentage of winning do we have to get just to get to 500? And what percentage of winning do we have to get to catch the team ahead of us? And in the part, of course, of the Blue Jays, it's to catch the New York Yankees, who are winning 6 out of every 10 games that they play. So you can eliminate yourself mathematically if you go by history and winning percentages and things like that. That's enough of the math lesson for today.
Thank God. It's the way I felt for a good solid 15 years.
I'm going to have to poke you to keep you awake over there.
Oh, my eyes started rolling up like window shades. There's a 1-hopper down to third. And that's all. But a 3-run second. Atlanta with a 4-2 lead.
Alcantara recorded his first major league hit versus the Reds. It was a 2 RBI double back on July 10th of 2014. It came off of Homer Bailey. That day, by the way, he went 4 for 5. He had a double, a triple, 3 RBI, scored 2 runs. It was his second career game overall as he came up with the Cubs back in 2014. So good game for him. Alcantara, maybe he can do that for the Reds today. 3 for 4 game, 4 for 5 game with 3 RBI. That would be nice, fellas.
He'd take that all day, every day,
that
Mr.
right.
Pecoro. In fact, I think you could go up and down the entire Reds lineup and they would be happy with that kind of thing. All right. Arismendi to lead things off with the Reds down 4-2, but they've proven already, Chris, many times this year, including the first 2 games of this series, that they're more than up for playing from behind to come back. They were down 2-0 going into the 9th inning on Friday night, tied the game and won it in the 10th. They were behind 5-1 before storming back to tie it at 5 yesterday.
Hey, Jeff Pecoro brought up the name Homer Bailey, and I know he's down in Arizona throwing rehab sessions and throwing in live ball games down there. I'm wondering if Jeff, do you have an update on Homer Bailey for us?
I do, Chris Welch. May 9th is going to be his next start, and Brian Price said that will be for an actual real professional team, not meaning the Arizona extended team that he's playing for now. So they're not sure where it's going to be, Daytona or Dayton or Pensacola, but it will be for one of the minor league teams. I'm sorry, June 9th, not May 9th, June 9th. So 5 days from yesterday, so he'll continue on that 5-day, and they would like to see 3 more outings by him before they make a decision as if he's ready to come up to the big league team.
Well, Peck, thank you for that update. Alcantara gone swinging. Well, the road to recovery hopefully is right there in front of Homer Bailey, and Reds are hoping the same holds true for Brandon Finnegan. And probably a little bit further behind those two would be Anthony DeSclafani. Tony Cingrani, I would imagine, would be back in the next couple of days, sometime during that Cardinals series. It'll be nice to have him back. Tucker Barnhart shoots one down into the left field corner, and he'll coast in with his 9th 2-base hit of the year.
Well, this is such a good swing for Tucker Barnhart. I mean, he stays behind the ball and hits it as late as anybody in this lineup. And you can just tell, really, when he is committed to going to left field like that, that opens up a lot of space.
Garrett with a count of 0-1. He has 1 hit in 16 at bats. That was an RBI double. Ron will give third base a look, but he'll take the out, the second of the inning. Looked like Garrett was trying to bunt for a hit there more than a sacrifice, although he'll get credit for the sacrifice. MLB.com at bat is your #1 mobile app for live Reds baseball. Stay connected. Home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast, so much more. Download MLB.com at bat today. I'd like to send out a big hello. We know he watches every single game. Our good friend Chris, Mr. Gene Bennett, dialed in watching again today. One of the all-time great guys.
You better believe it. An all-time smart baseball guys.
In the air to left field, and reaching up to make the play is Kemp. Raza gave it a ride, but not enough. End of 2. Braves lead by 2. Later tonight, the Cavs trying to even that series against the Warriors. Get your night started on Fox Sports Ohio with the home team starting 5 on Cavaliers Live. That will begin at 6:30. And then come right back after the game. All the highlights, interviews following Game 2. May remember the Cavaliers fell behind 2-0 a year ago. And in fact, LeBron James, who is playing in his 7th straight NBA Finals. What an amazing accomplishment that is, along with everything else he's ever done. But not one time in the 7 years in the NBA Finals has he been part of a team that won Game 1 of the series. So that's coming up tonight.
Are you going to make it up there this year?
Not going to make it up there, but I will be dialed in tonight. I mean, my wife and our kids, we got a chance to go up there last year and watch Game 3 of that series. I mean, if you go up there and watch a game, I don't care what part of Ohio you're from. You can do the whole Cleveland, Cincinnati thing and the rival, whatever. I mean, you can't help but become a huge fan of the Cavaliers. And so Polly and Ella and Luke and I will be tuned in tonight. Game 2. 2-2 on Garcia, who leads off the Atlanta 3rd inning. Braves scored an unearned run in the first. Reds got 2 in the bottom of the first on a Cozart home run. Braves scored 3 in the 2nd inning. Garcia hit that what looked to be the routine ground ball with 2 outs and a runner at second base in the opening inning, and then a rare poor throw by Cozart went into the Reds' first base side dugout, allowing a run to score. That's in the air over by the Braves' third base side dugout and 3 rows out of play.
Well, what you're happening anyway for Amir Garrett is that the more pitches he throws and the more he kind of gets in the rhythm here, the better his control will be and more efficient he'll be. With nobody out here in the 3rd inning, he's already thrown 52 pitches, so it has not been easy. But he is not the kind of guy just to mail it in either.
Cozart's throw this time is in the dirt, snatched out of there by Votto. 1 out. Slow breaking ball at Adams way out in front. He flied out to deep center field, ending the Atlanta first inning. Adams today playing in his 13th game since joining the Braves, coming over in a deal following the injury to Freddie Freeman from the Cardinals. Well, there was a time, Chris, I don't know if you thought so at the time or not, but I thought this guy had a chance to be a pretty good hitter for a long time, and it just did not play out that way after a very good start to his major league career.
Well, he's going to get another shot right here with Freddie Freeman on the disabled list for a long period of time. They have nowhere else to turn but Matt Adams. He was the best available out there to cover first base. So he's going to get another shot at it. He's not a guy that has been normally used to stay in there against a lot of left-handed starters. I kind of think it's too early to give up on Adams, but you know, because what he's shown to me anyway, in the part-time play that we would see him with the St. Louis Cardinals, you know, he'd beat the ship a few times, hit the ball the other way, and of course he's always had a thunderous bat when he gets his pitch. He's kind of flailing at everything right now, just trying to stay alive.
Well, in the 12 games, he has 4 home runs and 11 batted in. Of course, 2 of those home runs and 5 of those runs batted in came in the Braves win here yesterday. He hit the grand slam off Feldman, and then the 12th inning shot off Blake Wood to win it. But great numbers here at Great American Ballpark. Maybe that's why we thought he was going to be a good hitter, because that's all he did was come into Cincinnati and hit. This will be the 10th pitch in this at bat, so even for a guy who has struggled traditionally against left-handed pitching, Adams is making Garrett work. He's fouled off some really good pitches from the Reds left-hander. And now the count goes full. You can see Garrett, you know, he's walking back off the back of the mound. He thought a couple of times he made pitches that would normally put Adams away in this at bat. And now trying to find that elusive strike 3. Instead, it's long gone into right field by Adams. What an at bat by the Atlanta first baseman.
Well, Adams was betting on a fastball right there, because in the at bat it didn't seem like Amir Garrett was able to throw a strike with his slider. And he's throwing it an awful lot here this afternoon, like he normally does. Patience, patience. Fastball inner third.
Adams was hitless here on Friday night, the opening game of the series, but my, oh my, is he more than made up for that the last game, plus 3 home runs. And now 6 runs batted in 1 game and 2 at bats. Braves lead now 5-2. They've scored in each of the front 3 against Garrett, and this is return from a disabled list. 2-1 on Flowers. Now 3 consecutive starts, this talented young Reds left-hander has allowed 5 earned runs or more.
Well, that pitch right there is a perfect example. It's like a microcosm of where he is right now. He's just not able to repeat his delivery to the point where he can throw the ball really anywhere near where he wants to consistently. Gets a break right there as Flowers probably chase ball 4.
Flowers walked his first time up, scored on a 2-run home run by Danny Santana.
The thing that Amir Garrett told me about his hip injury is that when his very last start, when it bothered him, he was unable to get out over his front leg, his right leg, and really finish the pitch. And that's the one thing the pitchers will tell you that injuries will do to them. It enables them to kind of cut everything short, and it makes your stuff more hittable. It takes movement and pop off your fastball and your breaking ball. It makes you real vulnerable to making mistakes.
It's already 71 pitches thrown by Garrett, and we are just 2 1/3 innings into his start today.
Yeah, that's the number that Brian Price is looking at, obviously, with all the extra inning game last night and the starters not going deep into the game recently. He's thinking about that bullpen.
And the Reds already have action in their bullpen. Jake Buchanan, who we saw on Monday night in Toronto, the 21st pitcher to appear in a game for the Reds already this season. Now some veteran leadership here as Cozart comes in to talk to Garrett, and now springing out of the dugout is not the pitching coach, it is the manager, the one-time, of course, pitching coach Brian Price.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to ask Amir Garrett about his injury. I mean, are you sure your hip is okay? Because he just doesn't seem consistent in his delivery at all.
Chris, I don't know what you do if you're Dick Williams, the Reds general manager. I mean, take Brian Price out of the mix. Even of this discussion, what do you do with this Reds starting rotation? I mean, you know, it is now going on week after week after week where it is rare they get a start that lasts 6 innings from anybody anymore. They're lucky, in fact, in very recent days, to get an outing of 5 innings from a starter.
I mean, it's patchwork right now. I mean, you're just trying to get a guy. Asher Wojciechowski is going to pitch tomorrow. You know, you didn't think he was going to get another start or 2. They're just trying to get guys out there to give them 5 or 6 innings. And Dick Williams and company has had to essentially scrape the DFA, which is the designated for assignment list, to find out who's out there that may just temporarily get them over the hump until they begin to get some of these injured pitchers back.
You know, the natural reaction, and you and I have even hypothesized to this already, as this ball is just killed in the left center field off the bat of Santana. On to third goes Flowers. That'll be a double by Santana, who has a 2-run home run and a 2-base hit. You know, man, there's always a talk about, if a guy's on the 40-man roster, service time in the big leagues, when to start that proverbial clock. But do you get to a point where, the guys you're picking off the scrap heap, you're having to put them on the 40-man roster when you put them on the big league roster? I mean, are you at a point in time where you say, you know what, we've got some guys in Double-A that are really pitching well. Let's run them up here.
Well, again, if the Reds think it's temporary, if they feel like they're getting Homer Bailey back soon, or Finnegan back soon, maybe Tony Cingrani back soon, that will affect the way they make those decisions long term on those guys in Double-A. I don't think they want the kids in Double-A who need more seasoning to come up here and have bad experiences and then be sent down, and then you don't see them again for another year, because now your guys are getting better and you don't have any room on the roster. I think they're just trying to get by the next week or so and see what happens. Maybe 2 weeks or so.
Now Camargo, the number 8 hitter, is swinging a miss. Oh, they walked him. I beg your pardon. The intentional walk is given to Camargo. So they're loaded, and the pitcher is a batter. Tehran, 2 hits in 19 at bats this season without a run batted in. Tehran is a pretty decent bunter. And you look down at third right now. Now, granted, you have a catcher down there as the runner, but Suarez is even with a bag. I mean, would they consider, with a 3-run lead, a squeeze here? Apparently not. That one's shot down the right field line and out of play, and that'll put it at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Thirty-second pitch of this inning coming up for Garrett. You know, there are a lot of people, very sound baseball people, that have been around the game, Chris, for a long, long time, that love the idea with a pitcher at the plate and 1 out in the inning to try a 2-strike squeeze.
Yeah, really the only way that backfires completely is if the pitcher bunts through the baseball.
Right.
Normally what would happen, you're going to get a strikeout on a foul ball. Best thing for the offensive team is he actually gets the bunt down. Of course, if you do that with the bases loaded and he pops up, then you've got a double play on your hands, and that's maybe not a bases loaded type play.
Two and two the count on Tehran. Oh boy. Three balls and 2 strikes with the bases loaded.
You know, 82 pitches now coming up for Amir Garrett. I can't tell you how fatiguing that is for a pitcher over the course of just 2 2/3 innings. I mean, right now all you're trying to do is throw a strike. Please let me throw it in there.
That ball is hit hard and deep into right field. Jeanette will make the running catch in the corner. Tagging and scoring from third is Flowers. Everybody else moves up. Tehran is first RBI. And the lead swells to 6-2.
Well, the whole thing for really Amir Garrett today, from a pitching standpoint, not a mental standpoint, but from a pitching standpoint, not being able to throw his slider for a strike. And he throws his slider a lot. I mean, he uses it more than 25% of the time. But when you're bouncing in the dirt, you're not going to get anybody to bite.
Ciarte, the leadoff batter, coming to the plate for the 3rd time already in the game. Atlanta 6 runs, 6 hits, 3 walks. 1 unearned run of the 6 so far against Garrett. Runners at second and third with 2 away, and Ciarte, a pair of singles, has scored a run and knocked in a run. Well, knowing what's coming up next, you have right-hander in Swanson, right-hander in Kemp. More than likely, this is the final batter either way of this game for Amir Garrett. If the inning continues, they come get him. If it doesn't, that ball is driven into deep right center field. Jeanette at the warning track. Goodbye. And here comes Brian Price, and that's going to be all. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Atlanta exploding here in the first 3 innings. Getting 1 run in the first, 3 in the second. and 5 so far in the third, and that's all for Garrett. We're back in a moment.
By authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, certainly disappointed is Amir Garrett, returning to the Reds rotation here today and lasting just 2 2/3 innings, allows 7 hits, 9 runs, 8 earned, 2 walks, and then another intentional pass, 3 totals. There's a ground out on the first pitch thrown by Buchanan to end the inning. Garrett surrenders 3 home runs. Reds with some work to do. We alluded to it earlier today. Albert Pujols last night, a grand slam and a win over the Twins for the Angels. The 9th player in the history of baseball to reach 600 career home runs. Which leads us to our unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Pujols, the first player to hit number 600 and make it be a grand slam. Take a look at that. One of 3 players ever. How about the other 2? Aaron and Bonds. 600 homers, 600 or more doubles. And only Babe Ruth had a higher career batting average with over 600 home runs. than Albert Pujols. It is so interesting, Chris, and so much has been made of the fact that there is very little fanfare of Pujols reaching this milestone. I mean, that was a milestone for many, 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 many years prior to the steroids era, if you will, where, I mean, you start getting into 600 and you're talking about truly the holy grail of baseball players and those that reach 600 home runs. And I don't know if it's because it's on the West Coast. I don't know if it's because it, you know, Pujols has been hurt so much in recent years with all the plantar fascia problems and that kind of thing, and not been nearly the same player he was in St. Louis, or a combination of all the above. But very few people seem to be talking much about him reaching 600 home runs or the build up to it.
Or maybe it's just a foregone conclusion that he's a Hall of Fame player and he doesn't need the 600 home run level to get there.
Cozart a fly ball to center. Reds down 9-2 as we open the bottom of the third inning.
I mean, if you just look year by year by year for Albert Pujols, I mean, his rookie year he hit 37 and never looked back.
I tell you one thing, though. One thing is for sure. If nothing else, if Pujols were still playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, there would have been tremendous buildup for him getting to 600.
Agreed.
Nationally. That one looped into right center field off the bat of Votto. But of course the Cardinals made that decision, and many people say, well, they were the smart guys, and you know, they elected not to give a player, you know, $250 million in a contract. Let's never forget, it was the one additional year that proved to be the difference in Albert Pujols going to the Angels rather than staying with the Cardinals. The Cardinals were ready to pony up big money, but Pujols wanted that one additional year, which the Angels were willing to give, and the Cardinals finally drew at that point, you know, a line in the sand. Although it was a line in the sand far down the beach.
You know, you're right, and it's amazing, Tom, how many times you hear stories like that about ball clubs that offered the player a deal, he didn't take it, and then a few years later they say, oh, wasn't it great that the team didn't re-sign him? Look where he is now. I mean, they're saying that in Toronto about Edwin Encarnacion. Not that Encarnacion's a bad player, but they were able to go out and get Kendrys Morales for about half the amount of money. They're getting great production out of Morales. And to this date, at least up until the first couple of months of the season, Encarnacion struggled a little bit, although he's coming on now stronger.
And in all truthfulness, the Cardinals have really not skipped a beat ever since Pujols left. I mean, seemingly every year, although it's not every year, but seemingly every year, they've been in the postseason, to the World Series a couple of times, won one of them. It's down 9-2, but a long way to go in this one. We're just in the bottom of the third inning. One on, one out. 2-2 on Duvall, who popped up his first time up. Say, Ron wondering where that missed. Let's see. Not by much. And that one will make its way into left field. Back-to-back singles from Votto and Duvall.
Now, Duvall popped up earlier on a high fastball. This time they keep the ball down on him a little bit, and he finds that hole between third and short. That's what double play depth will do to you. You get that shortstop moved a little bit closer to second base. And it opens up a lot of infield for you if you can find it.
So here's Scooter Gennett. He bounced out to the second baseman Camargo his first time up. Reds had a 2-1 lead at this game at the end of an inning, but the Braves have scored 8 unanswered, and the Reds are trying to find a way to start the long crawl back to get into this thing. 2 or 3 more base hits in this inning and they might be on their way. Or back to the mound to start an inning-ending double play. Furry friend of the ball game. Special on-field parade, pregame activities in the Kroger fan zone, and so much more. Buy it today at Reds.com/Dog Day. We have one coming up against the Cardinals. That'll be on Wednesday night. And our good friends from the SPCA Cincinnati will be on hand as well. Well, I thought Jesse Jackson with us here in the booth for these 30+ years was going to come out of his seat when they played that old 70s hit Mr. Big Shot in between innings. Who do you think you are? You're never gonna break my heart. I mean, Jesse had it going on, didn't he, Chris?
Yes, he does. Always has it going on.
It's a big league tune. All right, so we get a look for the second time as a Red of Jake Buchanan. We mentioned the 21st pitcher to appear in a game for the Reds this season. We saw him on Monday night in Toronto. He worked 3 2/3 innings. Was claimed off waivers from the Cubs on the 25th of May. Before being claimed off waivers, he had spent the entire year with the Cubs AAA affiliate in Iowa. He was used as a starter there, so he's got some length to him if the Reds need him to chew up some innings, and they do. Slow roller to the right side, and Buchanan has retired all 3 batters he's faced.
Well, really important right now as a reliever coming into a ball game like this, throw a lot of strikes. The other team is more apt on a getaway day like today. They've got a 7-run lead. They're up there swinging the bats. They're not going to be working the count and trying to see how, you know, how many pitches they can make you throw. Buchanan was originally drafted by the Houston Astros, 8th round pick. In fact, he made his debut at the Astros, started a couple of games for them back in 2014. He's more of a pitch to contact type of pitcher rather than, you know, a high strikeout guy. I guess time to congratulate Edinson Volquez, Tom, for his no-hitter last night. 3-0 victory that Volquez did in 98 pitches. Of course, Volquez pitching now for the Marlins. Did it against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
And you know that had a lot of repercussion for multiple cities because of his connection to two young pitchers who died in the last year. We know about, you know, what happened in Miami last year. It was Jose Fernandez, and then
Ventura,
his teammate in Kansas City.
Giordani.
And that's who Volquez dedicated at the end of that game yesterday, the no-hitters, to both those young men who passed far too soon. Three and two on Matt Adams. He homered his last time up, gone swinging this time in a 1-2-3 inning for Buchanan. Reds will bat after 3.5, trailing 9-2. To that first, let's take a look at the National League Central in the standings. Very tightly bunched. 4 games separating first and last. In the Elk and Elk storyline, the most days leading in the National League Central so far this year. The Reds second only to the Cubbies. Welcome back to the big ballpark. Reds come to bat, bottom of the 4th inning. Suarez, Alcantara, and Barnhart against Tehran. His team scoreless in an inning for the first time today in this 4th. They have a 9-2 advantage. Eugenio called out on strikes ending the 1st inning. Cardinals coming into town for a 4-game series we brought up earlier starting tomorrow night. They will get in very, very late tonight. They're playing on Sunday night.
Boy, over the last few years, the Cardinals have played more than their share of those Sunday night games.
Sure have.
You know,
the Cubs now this year and last year.
I guess the price of success.
No question about it. That's why I love the comments that were made, I think, about a year or two ago by Mike Matheny, the Cardinal manager. He was asked about, you know, the Sunday night games and Saturday night games on Fox and all those kinds of things and getting into cities late. He said, hey, look, they're not putting teams on TV that are 8, 10, 12 games under 500 on Sunday night or Saturday night.
Good point.
So don't complain about it, because be careful what you wish for. That's why you never hear the New England Patriots complain about playing on Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night, do you?
Or in February.
Good point there. Here's ball 4 to Suarez. First walk of the game given up by Tehran. That's one thing about this young man. I mean, he can, you know, be inconsistent and up and down. Still a young man, even though he's been in professional baseball for a long time. He has outstanding control.
Well, he does, and he has been in for a long time. I mentioned early on that the Braves signed him when he was 16 years old, and he is now 26. So the 11th season in the Braves organization, Tehran is. He has signed a long-term deal. Will not be a free agent until the year 2020. And that year, actually, the Braves have an option for that year. 6-year, $32 million deal. So if you get a young man like Tehran, who they really feel highly about, that could be a very good deal in the long run for him, and obviously for the Braves.
Looking into the bright sunshine is Inciarte, and that's the first out of the inning.
I also mentioned that it was Johnny Alvarez, and Alvarez used to be a Reds scout and a Reds operative for a long, long time. And when he did not get the general manager job a couple of general managers ago here in Cincinnati, he went down and was recruited and signed with the Braves to be one of their front office operatives. And when baseball began to get on to Julio Tehran was when he was 16 years old, and he was pitching for Colombia in the Caribbean World Series in Puerto Rico. And there were a lot of teams that really wanted him, including the New York Yankees. And the Yankees courted him. Some other big-time ball clubs courted him, but it was because Tehran and his family were very comfortable with Johnny Alvarez, was the reason why they ended up signing with the Braves. Of course, Johnny Alvarez has now moved on from the Braves. He is the director of scouting for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Tucker Barnard had a double down the left field line, one of the 6 Reds hits in this game so far. 1 on, 1 out, 2-0 on Tucker.
A lot of strikes is Julio Tehran today. Look at that, 39 strikes, only 17 out of the strike zone. That's up around 73%. That is a secret to success right there.
Tucker turns on one, and that is a fair ball into the right field corner, and Barnard will have his second double in as many at bats. Runners at second and third with 1 out in the inning.
Well, that's going to make his hitting chart look awfully pretty. Double down the left field line his first time up, a double down the right field line your second time up.
We'll see how it plays out, but the unfortunate part about this in trying to get back into the game is you're in the pitcher spot, and the way the Reds have had to use their bullpen so much the last 2-3 weeks, they're going to have to let Buchanan bat. Was second and third and one out. Who knows? Maybe he hits one in the seats. Strike one. This guy looks like he was meant to be a Red, doesn't he, with that red hair and that red beard? Nothing and two the count.
Think he's setting him up?
He might be. See? Almost punched one down the line. Saw that yesterday in a not-hole game. Right-handed batter, his first step went straight to the third base coaching box, and he shot one into right field for a two-run single.
Misdirection play.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, he punches the ball down the right field line foul. He fouls back a high fastball right there. I would say he is set up for one of those very slow, under the hitting speed sliders that Tehran likes to throw right-handers here.
And there it is, and how about that? He had him set up all the way. Are you kidding me? An RBI single by Buchanan. Good for him.
And he didn't get the slider after all, except Tehran threw it right down the middle, and he just hung right in there.
That's his first major league hit.
And it brings in a run. Nice going.
Nice going is right.
Nice guy.
Yes,
when
sir.
Buchanan showed up on the scene, they were just kind of a roller right there for him. The Reds had just pulled into the parking lot in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Ballpark. He was standing out on the curb with his bag, had a suitcase, and he had a Cubs equipment bag with him. Gary Wayoff went out there to greet him, and he spent the next hour going through the clubhouse saying, "Hi, I'm Jake. Hi, I'm Jake." A lot of the Reds players didn't even know that they had picked him up. Oh, by the way, I'm Jake. I'm your new teammate.
Now back to the top of the order. And Peraza tardy on a fastball up in the zone. Jose a single. Scored on the Kozar 2-run home run in the first. Flied out, sending Kemp to the base of the wall, ending the second inning. He runs into one here, and you're back in this thing. Mentioned Peraza homered yesterday. Great shot, upper deck, foul ground, first base side. What a great ballpark. We were talking about it Friday night. Every year the Reds continue to just sink millions and millions of dollars into this ballpark. Two away in the inning. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. First time up today, Kozart. After making an error which led to an unearned run in the top of the first inning, he got that back +1. 2-run home run. Number 8 for Zach. And this one into center. Will it stay up long enough? And it gets by Inciarte, and everybody's off to the races. Look at the big fella, Buchanan. will score all the way from first base, and Cozart ends up at third.
Inciarte is one of the better center fielders in all of baseball right here, and it looks like he's going to come in and make a really nice grab to put a hurting on this threat. But the ball goes right by him. He dives and the ball goes over his glove. One thing to note right here, you see Cozart running right here. He is not running at 100%. You can see him just kind of gliding in there. I mean, a healthy Zach Cozart is busting it 100% all around the base paths. And he's missed some time so far this year with a couple of different things, and you wonder if maybe that knee might be barking a little bit. Don't know for certain. But this is all of a sudden a little more interesting ball game.
Sure is. That is the 5th triple of the year for Cozart. He's knocked in 4 runs today. Man, what a year he's having. .32 runs batted in now for Cozart, 3rd most on the team behind Duvall and Votto. Joey with a chance to add to his 44. I mean, you're really back in this thing if you find a way to get another run or 2 here in the next inning or 2. Right now, 4-run spread, and the heart of the order with a runner at 3rd and 2 outs. Ball 1 to Votto. 2-0. Talked about how well Tehran had thrown the ball away from Atlanta this year. And already he's given up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings, the same total he had allowed in 31 plus on the road before today. 3-0 to Votto. Nowhere near the strike zone, and here comes Duvall.
You know, Tehran was just cruising right along here, had a nice lead, did give up a couple of hits in the last inning, ended up with a double play. And here you're figuring when he had the bottom of the lineup coming up that it would be a nice easy inning. Brian Snitker is figuring it's not that easy on Sunday here in Cincinnati.
Well, the 2 key at bats in this inning, the first batter in the inning he walks with a 7-run lead, and then he allows a single to the pitcher with 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. Strike 1 on Duvall, who's 1 of 2. He's popped to first and single to left. Very good numbers in these situations for Duvall, the team leader, with 45 runs batted in. Pitches in this inning for Tehran. Sam Freeman, a right-hander, or a left-hander, I beg your pardon, beginning to get ready in the Atlanta bullpen. One ball, 2 strikes, runners on the corners and 2 out. Inning over, but the Reds get 3. We have played 4, and the Braves with a 9-5 lead. Bullpen so far this year. And the Reds bullpen 219 2/3 innings, by far the most among all teams in baseball. Those are the only 5 that have pitched over 200.
Well, the Reds will be adding to that total today.
But compared to this time a year ago, look at that decline. The largest ERA bullpen by better than a run and a half per 9 innings from this time compared to last year.
Well, Brian Price has done a nice job managing this bullpen. It has not been easy for Price trying to figure out how to put innings together, how to put pitchers out there to just get him to ball games without, overtaxing the bullpen. And he realized today his main guys, Iglesias, Lorenzen, Peralta, they've all pitched a lot in the last few days, so they may not be available at all. Even if they say, hey, Skip, I can give you an inning today, he may be the kind that I'm not going to do that to him. Because you want to keep him healthy and you want to keep him strong. So that's why the game may just rest in the hands of pitchers like Jake Buchanan here for several more innings. The Reds have cut that lead to 4.
We still have 5 innings left to go here at Great American Ballpark. Tyler Flowers a batter. And Buchanan hit him. That's the first batter to reach against Buchanan. Well, there is something about Flowers today. He's walked twice now and been hit by a pitch.
I can't say he really tried to get out of the way of this ball. And there's no rule that says a batter has to try to get out of the way of the ball. He just can't lean into it. But no fear right there when you get a pitch on the inner part of the plate and you're opening up towards it rather than turning away from it.
While we have a minute, you and I were talking about this before the game today. We always love talking about what's going on with some of our local high schools and the different sports and so on and so forth. And over this past weekend, during this weekend, on the Ohio side of the river, as here's a bouncer into right field, a base hit. The runner Flowers will advance on first to third. All of the state championships were held over the weekend in all the different sports. The track team over at Withrow High School, the women's track team, a budding dynasty over there.
Yeah.
3rd straight year they have won the Division I Girls State Track Championship track and field. In softball, the ladies from out in Williamsburg are the defending 4 Ohio state champions. How about that?
Congratulations to them.
Now in baseball, Lakota West reached the state semifinals before losing over the weekend. This should be a double play ball. Well, they will not turn the double play. Booted by Peraza. Cozart tried to pick him up. It didn't work out.
DP lane all the way right here. Peraza just gets a little careless. Cozart nearly makes something out of nothing. Reds had asked for a quick review of their video man. But no way they're going to review that one. That can't go down as an error, but certainly was a misplay.
And it allows Camargo to get an RBI. You can't get an RBI if you ground into a double play. But because it turned into a fielder's choice, it is a double play.
All right,
Mentioned
so we're not
in baseball, about no state champions from the greater Cincinnati area in baseball, but lacrosse is an entirely different animal. Southwest Ohio dominated in lacrosse. You had Moeller High School winning the boys Division I lacrosse state championship. Thrilling game, double overtime win over St. Ignatius from Cleveland. You have the Indian Hill girls team win the state championship in Division II. And as you know, Chris, close to my heart, the Marymount Warriors for the 3rd time in the last 5 years win the Division II boys lacrosse state championship. And you know, one thing I want to mention about that, there have been some incredible articles and stories done as they're going to walk in Ciarte. The head coach over there is Steve Peterson. He has just done an incredible job with that whole program, starting it over 20 years ago, assisted by Michael Long and Will Swanson, a huge part of the program, and Joe Lever. But Graham Harden is a young man who lives in our neighborhood, one of the all-time great college lacrosse players in the history of the NCAA at the University of North Carolina. 4-time All-American, 3-time Player of the Year. And in his early 50s as a father, about a year ago, was diagnosed with ALS. He is still the head coach of the girls lacrosse team at Marymount, and he is Steve Peterson's top assistant on the boys team. And that entire area out there has rallied on his behalf, raising money for the ALS and for the Harden family, and congratulations to him. Very, very, very emotional time out there with Marymount winning that state championship yesterday. Base hit. Yeah, I mean, and a great guy and a great family. Play at the plate, not going to be in time. That'll be a run-scoring single by Swanson.
Well, Swanson, who really has not done much all afternoon, finally gets a ball that goes right past Cozart. Camargo just a little too quick. He can run a little bit, Camargo can. And the Braves are getting them back. You know, Tom, you mentioned that about all those different high school teams that have won more than one. You know, like the Marymount lacrosse 3 times in 5 years, the three-peat for the Withrow girls. It really indicates that there's a good feeder program going on.
Sure.
That you start getting these kids to get organized as they're youngsters, and then by the time they get to high school coaches have some pretty polished athletes, whether it's a track star or whether it's a lacrosse player.
Well, that's why I talk about Steve Peterson, who started that program in the Marymount School District 20 years ago. He had 8 kids that came out the first year for some sport that none of us ever had when we were growing up in this part of the country anyway, in lacrosse. And he finally was named the head coach of the varsity team just 6 years ago, and already 3 state championships. Yet today he still coaches the 2nd graders through the 6th graders.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible stuff. They are very lucky to have Coach P, as they call him out there on the eastern side of Cincinnati. Slow roller off the bat of Kemp. What a play by Suarez.
Wow.
And that's the way the inning comes to an end, but 2 for the Braves. out in right center field today. Ken May of Cincinnati will win that beautiful Tundra. There it is. You can register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and/or Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. We have played just 4.5 innings on this very warm Sunday afternoon in downtown Cincinnati. Braves have scored in 4 of the first 5 innings today, including the first 3 to knock Amir Garrett out of the game after 2 2/3 innings, scoring 9 runs off him, 8 earned, and they just pick up a pair off Buchanan in the top of the 5th to take a 9-5 lead up to 11-5. Scooter Gennett drives one into left center field. Nice play by Inciarte. He's a nice solid player out there.
Yeah, he is. He misplayed one ball, the one that came off the bat of, I think, Zach Cozart. Played that into a triple. But that play, you can really see the way Matt Kemp, the left fielder, kind of gives way to him. He realizes how much ground Inciarte can cover, much in the way the corner outfielders here in Cincinnati realize that Billy Hamilton covers just about everything between the gaps. Kemp is kind of soft shoeing it out there and lets Inciarte do the heavy lifting.
Sounds like a plant right up here in this booth.
See you later.
Eugenio Suarez about it. And a base hit into center field. Suarez, his first hit, second straight time he's been on base.
That was this part of the order that began the rally last inning. Suarez led the inning off of the base on balls, this time with a 1-out base hit. And he really struggled on that road trip between Philadelphia and then as the Reds went into Toronto, pulling off the ball a little bit. Then he got a base hit in Toronto, going the other way, just kind of a little blooper to right field. Ever since then, it seems like he's staying on the ball much better.
Alcantara 0 for 2. There's no two ways about it. This young man is up there hacking. He has now gone 44 consecutive plate appearances going back to the middle of April since drawing a walk. Now, not a ton of playing time, obviously, during that time frame, but he's up there to swing the bat. Tehran approaching 90 pitches in the game, and there's only 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. It looks like they're just trying to get this guy through 5 to get him a win. His team scored 11 runs. And he's had a hard time slowing down the Reds.
He's given up 10 hits.
Alcantara drives one into deep right center field, and that baby's out of here.
11 hits.
His first home run as a Red. Smiles is Arismendi Alcantara. Say, the Reds just don't go away.
changeup that he just leaves about thigh high, making waist high for Alcantara. Got to figure if the Braves had not scored 11 runs, there's no way that Tehran would still be in this ball game. They trail again by 4. You know, sometimes these games are not only tough to manage, but they're tough to pitch in. You just come in, and for some reason, the game has taken on an energy of offense. And balls find their way through the infield. Little bloops hang in there. Balls that don't seem hit all that well, carry deep, find the gap, and then find the first couple of rows in the bleachers.
Tucker Barnhart, a pair of at-bats, a pair of doubles. In the second inning, down the left field line into the corner. In the fourth inning, down the right field line into the corner, and he would later score. First time in Tucker's career he's had 2 doubles in a game. Tehran just trying to get through the 5th. He's given up 7 earned runs and still has a 4-run lead. It's the 3rd time he has allowed 7 or more earned runs this year. He gave up 9 in one start. That was against Toronto. Ball and 2 strikes on Tucker Barnhart. And we'll do it again. Action in each team's bullpen. Luis Alberto Puerto Bonilla getting loose for the Reds. Pitcher spot is due up next in this lineup. Jason Mott, longtime right-handed reliever, is ready to go for Atlanta. Tucker lifts one into right field, and that ball is caught in front of the wall by Santana.
Boy, anything in the air today, hold your breath. That same ball on a cool evening in April or May, you just put your head down and run it out. You hit it today, you think you may have a chance.
Oh, with 2 outs and the bases empty, the Reds are going to allow Buchanan to bat. He had his first major league hit. His last time up, he knocked in a run with a single to left center and scored all the way from first on a triple by Kozai.
Is there a way to look up? I don't know how to do it, but is there a way to look up the most number of runs a pitcher this year has given up and still received the win? Starting pitcher. Because 7 runs in 5 innings, and you walk away with a W. And this game's a long way from over, but still, he is 1 out away from qualifying for a win. If he was a young pitcher, he might qualify for the win and get sent down the next day.
That's exactly right. Strike 3 call, that'll end the inning. But the Reds get 2 back on the home run by Alcantara. Changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. Always send out a special O to those watching over at Cincinnati Children's today. Hope you're having a great day and even better one tomorrow. Some lucky youngsters from some not old teams, little league teams, softball teams around the area. Reds do that on a regular basis here. Play ball Sunday afternoon. Big thrill for those youngsters, no doubt.
Well, the giveaway today, in case you didn't notice, there are all those youngsters holding the wiffle ball bat and a wiffle ball. Love backyard wiffle ball.
Oh, man.
Man, oh, man.
There are very few things for those that have a chance to be exposed to it. And under the right circumstances, could be, you know, your buddy's backyard, your own backyard, maybe some favorite spot you have in the neighborhood, whatever it is. As there's a comeback or two, the mound by Garcia to open up the 6th inning. I think for a lot of young boys and girls, wiffle ball is truly one of the great memories you have as a child.
Yeah.
And who you used to play with and where you used to play, and you'd get into those runs where, you know, when you were really little, you'd have a chance to play it seemingly every day for hours on end. That'll be a double off the bat of Matt Adams.
Tell you what, the way he has swung the bat here in this series, I'm wondering if the Braves aren't feeling like, wow, we made a pretty good little acquisition by picking up Matt Adams. He was really excess roster space for the St. Louis Cardinals. They signed James Loney originally and brought him up, former Los Angeles Dodger first baseman. That was when Freddie Freeman got injured. They needed another one, so they brought Loney up. And then as soon as they signed Matt Adams, Loney asked for his release, was given that release, and their main first baseman has been Matt Adams. Or you like to call him Mount Adams.
I do. I love it.
Other people used to call him Grizzly Adams. But I mean, he's gone down about one whole body size since from last year to this year.
There's no doubt. I mean, he's no longer Mount Adams. I remember when we saw him for the first time. After he lost all that weight, you and I were looking at each other thinking, there's no way that's the same guy.
Yeah.
Two away in the inning, and Danny Santana, the batter, the Reds will have the top of the order when they come to bat in the bottom of the sixth, and that apparently will begin in about a minute and a half. Really nice work by Buchanan. He gives him 3 1/3 innings and allows 2 runs. Out for you and your girlfriends. I'm going to tell you, do not miss a night of their own. It's presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. You enjoy dinner, open bar, you throw pitches from the mound, you snag some fly balls in the outfield, you meet manager Brian Price, you take some batting practice, you get great Red swag, including a shirt and a bag. Sign up today at reds.com/baseball101. That is Thursday, June the 15th. I promise you, if you come to this, you will have one great night.
And you'll be able to meet Tom Brenneman.
Now, there is a really big deal. Now, that little one's a little young on the right. But prime time for Mom there on the left to get a few of her buddies out and come to the ballpark.
Well, presumably Marty will be back from vacation by then.
Presumably.
That'll be an old father-son act up in the broadcast
That's
booth.
right. And really, I'm the one doing all the listening on that deal. Peraza leading things off against the new pitcher, and what a run he's on right now, the veteran Jason Mott. He's gone 14 straight appearances without allowing a run. He made his Braves debut on April the 28th. He gave up a run. He has not given up a run in each outing since. Peraza lines one into center field, 1 out.
Well, I'm sure remember Jason Mott from his days as a St. Louis Cardinal. He was there for quite a long time, about 6 years for Mott there. In fact, he had 42 saves in 2012. He was their main guy out of the bullpen. Last couple of seasons, he's been in Colorado. Saw his earned run average skyrocket as it normally does when you move to Denver as your home team. And he came over here this year. He's throwing the ball very well. Although he's given up a lot of walks. He has.
Straight away center field. Has Cozart done it again? He has. Cozart, his second home run of the game. He's knocked in 5. Well, what a year. What a year this guy is having.
Boy, just taking advantage of every mistake. I mean, right on the sweet spot.
Cozart now with 9 home runs. He has 33 runs batted in. That's right into the shift. Played perfectly that time. And Votto thrown out. First time he's been retired today. Double, single, walk, now ground out. But Cozart, 4th time. He's hit more than 1 home run in a game. Did it just on the most recent road trip through Toronto. But he has simply been spectacular this year. All-around player, he's been the best Reds player on the team so far this year. There are guys with more home runs, guys with more RBIs, nobody close in batting average. He's tied for the team lead. In fact, in doubles, he leads the team. In triples, his defense, even with an error today, has been rock solid as always. What a great year.
I'm not sure how many people saw that coming for Zach Cozart either. I mean, because his lifetime batting average coming into this year, I think, is down to 240s. Could happen to a better guy, though. I'll tell you what. A real team leader.
2 ball thrown out, and that will end the inning. The Reds get 1 back. Tell you what, this game is a long way from being over. It's a 3-run game, and we still have 3 innings to go. Zone with Jimmy Hanlon, presented by Varmint Guard. That's tonight at 8 on Fox Sports Ohio, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Jimmy was just out playing where they're holding the Memorial Tournament final round today in Muir Field. That's just outside Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, you were up there playing a couple of weeks ago with him. Right now,
well, I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't call it that at all.
They've got a bunch of them up there around the leaderboard right now. Daniel Summerhays is 12 under, but there are 3 or 4 other golfers within striking distance. Ought to be a pretty good ending.
I mean, you get some of the biggest names in golf that are right there. Ricky Fowler's only 1 shot behind. Bubba Watson's 2 back. Kuchar is 2 back.
And Cincinnati's own Jim Herman is tied for 12th. He's a few back, but having a pretty good outing here this week up there.
Spieth was right there in the hunt, but not having a good final round today. 1 over. Oh, what a beautiful community that is. For Alcantara. Buchanan has really done a nice job. He's trying to get through what would be his 4th full inning of work. He got the final out throwing 1 pitch in that 5-run Atlanta third in relief of Garrett. Jason Mott will be taken down, so his string of 14 consecutive appearances without allowing a run comes to an end on the home run by Kozart. That ball driven into deep left field by Rio Ruiz, but caught in front of the wall. Ruiz batting for Mott. 2 away. Tehran allowed 7 in 5 innings. And as we mentioned, right now anyway, he's still in line to get the win.
So if he gets a win today, there's only one other pitcher in the big leagues this year that has allowed 7 or more runs as a starter and have gotten the win. That would be our good friend Garrett Cole from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Did it his last start out.
Oh, and 1 the count. Whoa, look out down there. Nobody exactly racing over to try to help Eugenio Suarez. I think he stayed on his feet the whole time through that first layer of steps onto the landing in the dugout, and then another layer of steps and go down to where the umpires come out.
I don't think those steps are exactly safety treads on those things.
No. Shot into left field off the bat of Ender Enciarte. Boy, what a nice game he's having. That's the 5th straight time he's been on base. He has 4 hits, including a 3-run home run and a walk. That'll get you knocking on the door 300, won't it? After that base hit, he might be over 300 on the year. Third time since the beginning of last year where Enciarte has 6 or more total bases in a game. He's been all over the field today. Scored twice, driven in 4, and now Swanson down a strike. 1 for 4 is Dansby Swanson, and an RBI single in the 5th. Buchanan trying to keep it right here in a 3-run game and give his offense a chance to rally. Both teams have used so much bullpen, so even those dependable guys that the Braves have, those final 3, Vizcaíno, Ramirez, and Johnson, they've had to work each of the first 2 games of this series as well. Tapper to short, should end the inning, and it does. So we're going to keep it right here as we do every Sunday for the singing of God Bless America. The Reds are down 3 with 3 more at bats to go. '17th and see the Hit Kings bronze statue unveiled as part of the Bud and Burgers viewing party presented by Budweiser. First 30,000 fans through the gates get a replica Pete Rose statue thanks to PNC Bank. And for tickets, visit Reds.com/Pete. That'll be a huge weekend at the ballpark. All right, 3 more shots at him. And the Braves will reach into their bullpen once more. In front of 26,227. Kroll, a left-hander, comes on.
Yeah, Kroll has been in a lot of ball games the last few years. 110 games overall with the Tigers, Nationals. This year he found himself at AAA at the start of the season. Went down there and pitched well, and here he is back in the big leagues. Only 26 years old.
Lefty righty switch hitter. 2 up for the Reds, and you have to wonder, you know, you start looking at the way this game could play out over the next 3 innings. And, you know, should the Reds start getting some people on base, Chris, you wonder what the availability is today of both Billy Hamilton and Scott Schebler. Both injured, leaving the game yesterday. Injured shoulders, neither one in the lineup today. Neither one put on the disabled list today. So when you look on the Reds bench, those are 2 of the 4 players, including a backup catcher, that Brian Price has to work with today.
So you have Patrick Kivlahan and Devin Mesoraco.
That's it.
And Michael Lorenzen.
Oh, right. Yeah, Lorenzen.
And in a ball game in which there's already been 19 runs scored, 3 runs doesn't seem like very much.
Pitcher spot due up 5th here in the Reds' 7th inning. 2-2 on Scooter Gennett for 3 today. Jeff Piccolo, you have more to add to that.
Yeah, back in the 5th inning when Buchanan was coming up to bat, remember, and he struck out looking, Scott Schebler actually went into the cages underneath here and swung and actually got his gloves and batting helmet on and was going to go up had one of those guys gotten on in front of him. But once Tucker flew out, they decided to go ahead and bat Buchanan. I can also tell you that Michael Lorenzen has been on the bench, not in the bullpen the entire game, and has gone back twice to just stay loose in the cages down here. So that, as you would assume, Schebler is available, as is Lorenzen to hit.
Great stuff, Jeff Piccolo. Thank you very much. In fact, Lorenzen already with the batting gloves on. That might be in preparation of what could be an at-bat should we get to the 5th spot, the number 9 spot in the batting order, 5th up in this inning. A lot of folks cruising in and around the aquarium over there on the Newport side of the river. And of course, the Bunbury Music Festival continues, this being the 3rd and final day. They have had huge crowds, incredible weather over this entire weekend. So there is a lot happening in downtown Cincinnati this weekend. The Music Festival, you saw that shot a moment ago along the banks of the Ohio, just east of where you saw that shot on the other side of the U.S. Bank Arena. Multiple stages, multiple acts over the last 3 days, going right into tonight before they wrap it up. Pitch number 10, and this at bat to Scooter Gennett. And back to the mound. 1 out. Suarez struck out his first time up. He walked and scored in the 4th inning. And then singled and scored on the Alcantara home run in the 5th. Reds down by 3. We're in the 7th. This is the rubber game of this 3-game set. Two balls and a strike on Suarez. We were talking earlier about the Houston Astros having won 40 of their first 56 games. They've won 9 in a row, and they are wasting no time today. Going for the sweep against their in-state rival Rangers. Already out to a 3-0 lead in just the second inning. Man, they've got it going on. You know, it's funny. I think to the more than just a casual fan, I think if you go to a lot of pretty hardcore baseball fans and ask them to name you 4 guys in a starting lineup on a daily basis for the Astros, they might have a hard time doing it. Suarez gone swinging for the second out of the inning.
I think you're probably right, Tom, but if you ask people in Houston, I think that they would tell you right away, well, we got Jose Altuve,
Yep.
Carlos Correa, George Springer. Yeah, there's a lot of pretty good players down there. Lance McCullers having a great year. This is Dallas Keuchel, Marwin Gonzalez. It's a really well put together ball club. But I was just looking up, and I haven't found it yet, but I want to say that last year and the year before, the Rangers completely owned the Astros, and it has been a complete turnaround so far this year.
Two down for Alcantara.
In fact, yes, the Astros were 4-15 against the Rangers last year.
Well, remember, it was 2 years ago the Astros came out of nowhere, had a great year. And then last year, it went the other way. The Rangers were the better team in that American League West. The Rangers were playing very well this year until about 3 weeks ago. And things have just completely unwound. 1-2 on Alcantara. Did his first home run as a Red, his last time up as a left-handed batter. It came in the 5th inning. 2-run shot to right center.
Yeah, the bullpen is at the forefront of both of these managers' minds. I got to figure after this weekend, especially with a 4-hour and 20-minute game yesterday, this long, highly offensive game today, both of these managers just are thinking, I need a day off. Problem is, they're not going to get a day off. Both of them will entertain teams for 4-game sets coming up. Phillies against Atlanta and the Cardinals coming into Cincinnati. The top of the 8th inning, Jake Buchanan stays in the ball game, and time to remind you that following each and every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, make sure to stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda, for a complete recap, interviews, The first word from the locker room on Reds Live every night, every day following our broadcast.
Well, Mr. Buchanan is going to get the ball for yet another inning. And he has done a really nice job so far. 4 1/3 innings. He's allowed 4 hits and 2 runs. But Chris throwing a lot of strikes. Only 1 walk. That was an intentional walk. And he hit a batter.
Well, I think you said the right thing about throwing a lot of strikes.
If you weren't with us earlier, we mentioned that Buchanan had been pitching for the Cubs AAA team in Iowa exclusively as a starter. So this is no big deal, working into a 5th inning of work. That is caught by Cozart, and as if on cue, for more on Zach, here's Jeff Pecora.
Well, thanks a lot, Tom. You know, the College World Series is right around the corner. Regionals going on, Louisville and in Lexington, Kentucky. And Zach Cozart never made it to the World Series in college baseball, made it to the Super Regionals. Each time, 3 years in a row, he was knocked out. First by Texas. Drew Stubbs played on that team. His sophomore year by Yonder Alonso and the Miami Hurricanes. And his junior year by Mike Leake and Arizona State. Ground ball. Easy out for Peraza at second. So all 3 years knocked out by a teammate and never made it. By the way, in that Arizona State game, he had 3 hits against Mike Leake. Ole Miss had 4 total hits against Leake. How about that?
How about that is right. We will see Mike Leake this week.
Now you were talking about Buchanan being a starter down for the Cubs when he pitched in Iowa this year. And when he last pitched for them, he pitched 7 innings of shutout baseball on May the 19th. So a little bit stretched out, but that was a while ago. I think that's one of those things that can be overstressed a little bit, you know, getting a guy stretched out. The way you get stretched out is you throw a lot of strikes. And that's the way you get through innings.
High fly ball off the bat of Matt Adams into short right, and a 1-2-3-8 for Buchanan. 5 1/3 innings of 4-hit baseball. Well done. It's been for Zach Kozar, our Honda game summary, a 2-run home run for Zach in the first inning. In the fourth inning, he had a 2-run triple. And then in the sixth inning, a solo home run. Fourth time in his career, he's hit 2 home runs in a game. He's knocked in 5. Problem has been the Atlanta offense, much of the same, especially against starter Amir Garrett. 3 home runs, 9 runs total, 8 earned in just 2 2/3 innings. But the Reds still have a fighting shot. They're down by 3 as they come to bat against Kroll, who had a 1-2-3 7th inning. Last of the 8th, it'll be Barnhart, a pinch hitter. Right now, Kiblahan stands in the on-deck circle, and back to the top of the order in Peraza.
We just gave you a shot of Buchanan. I mean, other than Zach Kozar, the game that he has had has been incredible. But I mean, what Buchanan has done has been something this ball club really needed. Reds picked him up off waivers on May the 25th when the Cubs designated him. He was at big league camp with the Cubs and then was sent down in about the 3rd week of March. So he wasn't like he was the last cut off that Cubs team. Did go on the DL a little bit when he was down in Iowa. When he came off the DL, threw the ball pretty well, and that's when the Reds are right there. And the Reds have been having, you know, they've been needing to do that. A number of these pitchers that they have in their rotation, they picked up off the waiver wire. They're just trying to get by right now. So you ask yourself, why do you have so many scouts around? The Reds are showing you why this year.
One and 2 on Tucker.
It's funny, Tom, if you talk to these scouts, and every team has a little different form, the way you fill out what you want, but most of them have columns where you're going to rank a player. Let's take a pitcher. You know, they rank his fastball and his breaking pitches according to major league averages, and then they rank his delivery and the prospects of being heard and what he's done and so on. But there's also a box in there that says, you know, acquire, yes or no. Meaning, if he becomes available, do you want to get him? And that's really what I would imagine most general managers, they cut right down to the bottom line immediately. You know, do we want this guy or do you not?
Yeah, I mean, why read the rest of the stuff if the guy who's writing the report is going to tell you right at the end of it, no or yes?
Yeah. Tony Cingrani's thrown a couple of bullpens recently. They feel like he's very close. He feels like he is ready to go. I'm not sure what the immediate plans are for Cingrani. Seems like he's been out for a long, long time.
Today is the 30th game the Reds have played this year. And today is the 55th game. Today is the 30th game of the season where they have had a starter fail to throw more than 5 1/3 innings. That's why their bullpen has thrown the most innings among all teams in baseball.
So really the short-term prospect is, even when the Reds do get pitchers back like Finnegan, like Homer Bailey, I mean, are you going to have to watch their pitch counts and their innings for the first few starts?
Well, you know, the reason you bring up about 30 of them is because that's how far Buchanan went today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very good question. I think a lot of that, Chris, will depend upon, you know, what's the urgency of getting these guys to the big leagues, and when they're making their rehab starts, how many pitches are you letting them throw, right?
Right. Yeah, if you've got a full rotation except for one guy and you can cover that one spot, no problem, then you let that guy down on rehab, pitch and pitch and pitch until he builds up his pitch count until he's thrown 100 pitches. That may not be the case if you're just looking for warm bodies to fill the rotation the way the Reds are right now.
3-2 on Kivlahan off the Reds bench, trying to make something happen. Reds down to their final 5 outs. And this should be the second out of the inning on the pop up to Santana and right. It is. Cardinals come to town beginning tomorrow night here at Great American Ballpark, and the series presented by Kroger. Love to have you join us. Beautiful weather expected again the entire week. Call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. 7:10 starts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. 12:35 the first pitch on Thursday. The Reds will make the long journey out west. 3-game series at Dodger Stadium in LA. Followed by 3 in San Diego's Petco Park. Peraza 1 of 4. He singled and scored in the first inning on the Cozart home run. Last at bat in the 6th, line to center. Pirates blasting the Mets. Look at that kid. Now there's no way that he is accumulated, unless he was here for batting practice maybe. I didn't think of it. Did anybody hit today? That ball driven into right center. What a nice play made by Inciarte. That's a big play in a 3-run game. We're off to the 9th, 11-8 Atlanta. For the start of every game on Fox Sports Ohio, called Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. All right, Chris, let's take a look at the probables for the 4-game series against St. Louis beginning tomorrow night.
Well, you know you're going to get good pitching when the Cardinals come to town. This is no exception. Carlos Martinez, he's even at 4-4. Adam Wainwright is throwing the ball much better as of late. Lance Lynn has been having a good season. And Mike Leake, still an earned run average among the leaders in the league. Wojciechowski, Alderman, Bronson Arroyo, and then yesterday's starter Scott Feldman get the call against the Cardinals Monday through Thursday. That Thursday is the day game. Will not be on Fox Sports Ohio, but the other first 3 games in the series, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all coming at you on this same channel. Blake Wood toes the rubber here for the Reds in the top of the 9th.
Well, Wood hoping the start of a brand new week will turn things around. This past week, a couple of outings he just as soon forget. He allowed the home run in a tie game on Tuesday in Toronto. Suffered the loss. And then got the loss yesterday, giving up the home run to Matt Adams. This ball will roll foul. What a great job by Buchanan. 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs. One ball, 1 strike on Flowers. He's been on base 3 times today without a hit. 2 walks, been hit by a pitch. Officially 0 for 1. And has scored 3 runs. Line drive into right center field, a base hit by Flowers. That'll roll all the way to the wall. That ball didn't get more than about 9 feet off the ground. And that's a 2-base hit to start the Atlanta 9th inning. Peraza thought he had a chance to catch that ball.
Blake Wood thought he had strike 3 on the previous pitch. This time he comes with a slider that just really doesn't do a whole lot. And Flowers goes right down and whack it in the right center field alley.
Santana had 3 games a year ago where he had 3 or more hits. Today is his first such game in 2017. You got to remember, this guy came into the game with 4 hits all year in 35 at bats. And he has 3 hits, has scored twice, hit a 2-run home run and a double.
I would say that he is the Braves version of Arizmendi Alcantara, because he's playing behind a pretty good right fielder in Nick Markakis. You got Matt Kemp in left field and Inciarte, the leadoff hitter, in center field. So there's just not a lot of room for him in the lineup. So when you do get a rare chance to start and then put some at-bats together, he's taking serious advantage of it here today.
Brewers in the 6th inning have a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers, but no lead has been safe for Milwaukee over the last couple of days. They seemingly had things in control yesterday, and the Dodgers roared right by them. Dodgers going for the weekend sweep.
Reds will see the Dodgers after the Cardinal series.
See them, in fact, 6 games over what will be a 10-day stretch. They'll play them 3 times in Los Angeles, then they'll go to San Diego. When the Reds come back home the next series, the Dodgers will be here at Great American Ballpark. There's a base hit into right center field. That'll be a base hit, a double, and an RBI, making it a 12-8 game.
How about the Washington Nationals spending a complete week in San Francisco, where they will play on back-to-back series? They started the series last Monday when they played 3 against the Giants and then 3 more against the Oakland A's. That is wrapping up today.
Well, you know who else is doing the same thing later on this summer is Cleveland. We were talking to Rick Manning and Matt Underwood, Tom Hamilton and their gang. We saw the Indians last week. They get the exact same trip later this summer. It's not bad.
Well, you can do a lot of events there. If you plan it ahead of time, you're going to be there for a week.
What would you do for a week?
Well, I do the bike trip over the Golden Gate Bridge at least once.
Okay.
I've been to Alcatraz, but I'd probably be dragged out there again.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
You know, I like taking the BART over into the Palo Alto area. You know, look at the college over
That's
there.
your
and
crowd.
So on. Well,
It has become your crowd.
I'm kind of not complicated.
You were more
anyway.
the San Diego State, San Jose State crowd about 5 years ago, and now more the Palo Alto Stanford crowd now.
And I would hope for a lot of day games. That way you could get out and enjoy some of those restaurants that are so good. And I would go to you, of course, for every restaurant recommendation in San Francisco.
Don't go to me.
You know all the really good neighborhood ones. And I know that the reviews that I've talked to some of your closest friends, like Eddie and Pat Shepard, you took them to some great restaurants out there. And
No, that would all be my wife. I have nothing to do with any of it. That pitch, did it hit him? Yes, it did. It hit Markakis, a pinch hitter.
yeah, they wanted to make sure that he didn't swing at that pitch, too. The Reds are asking for a little holdup in the action while they review that. Whether the batter got hit or not is reviewable. No question about it. Remember the good old days when the ball would go into dirt, the umpire would check for shoe polish?
Sure.
If you didn't shine your shoes, you might not be awarded first base.
2 on, 1 in, 1 out, and there's another hit. They're going to wave the runner around, and here comes a throw by Duvall. It's not going to be in time. It looked like the runner, Santana, had decided to stop at third base. And Ron Washington, the third base coach, said, "Come on, son, let's go." And I'm not so sure those would be the exact words from Ron Washington.
Well, he took a long time because he wasn't sure where the left fielder was playing. You saw the hesitation that he had just getting it going in the very first place.
That's a run-scoring single. What an incredible day today for Ender Inciarte. A 5-hit game, has been on base 6 times. Has knocked in 5 runs. Single scored in the first, RBI single in the second, 3-run home run in the third, intentionally walked in the fifth, single in the seventh, RBI single in the ninth.
You know, you wonder sometimes how Blake Wood gets hit. I mean, his fastball is 97 miles an hour, and then he's got a split finger that he threw right there to get Dansby Swanson out, which is a plus off-speed pitch. He's got a good slider that goes straight down when he throws it right. But at the end of every year, you look up and his earned run average is right around the mark of 4. Gives up just about a hit per inning and walks about 1 batter every other inning. Just throw more strikes. I think the Reds were hoping for that.
One ball and 1 strike on Kemp, and now he'll call timeout. Two big runs here in this Atlanta 9th inning off Blake Wood. Reds were down 3 when this 9th inning began. Granted, a 3-run deficit, but the way the Reds have proven time and time again this year about the ability to come from behind, and that held true in each of the first 2 games of this series, but now that gap has gone from 3 to 5. And the inning's not over yet. 2-2 on Matt Kemp. Runners at first and second base, and he's gone swinging to retire the side. But 2 runs against Wood in the inning. Reds will bat last of the ninth, down by 5. Sports Ohio brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Promised earlier in the game, our Miller Time Moments, plural, brought to you by Miller Lite, and lots more of them again today for Cozart. 3 hits, 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in for the Red shortstop, who leads all National League shortstops in virtually every major offensive category there is. Brought it up earlier, 3rd in the balloting for the starting shortstop, fan balloting for the All-Star game. Yet Cozart leads every National League shortstop in hitting, hits, triples, extra base hits, RBIs, slugging percentage, and on-base percentage. And every one of those categories has risen today. Luke Jackson comes on from the Atlanta bullpen. They got 2 real good innings out of Kroll. The 5 1/3 innings work by Jake Buchanan out of the Reds bullpen today is a career high for him, and the most by a Reds reliever. Since a young man, I know you were quite familiar with, Chris, going back to September of 2014, and David Holmberg.
I've seen David Holmberg actually throwing the ball fairly well now for the Chicago White Sox. Watched him on TV the other day when I think he had a start against the Red Sox. You're right about him, Tommy. He's got some staying power here in the major leagues.
Sure does. You know, he went 5 2/3, did Holmberg, in September in 14, but I know you and I both remember so well. That was the, 19-inning game. Carlos Fisher threw 5 2/3 innings out of the Reds bullpen back in May of 2011 when we were in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, yeah. Is that the same game where Jimmy Rollins got Brandon Phillips on the hidden ball trick?
Yes.
Was walked up to him and kind of, conversationally going back and forth and back and forth, and you know they did that every time they got together.
That's
out
right.
there. Of course, both middle infielders, and one time, the final time that they talked, Rollins had the ball hidden in his glove.
And that was a huge play in that game.
Sure was. Well, Jackson's a young man that has been spent some time down the minor leagues with the Atlanta Braves this year. They expected him to compete for a bullpen spot coming out of spring training, but he had some back issues. He's thrown the ball fairly well since he's been here, but he's got the middle of the Reds lineup here to work through, and he led off the inning with a walk.
Tapper down to first. That'll be the first out of the inning.
Big out.
Duvall down to strike. I'm sure a lot of these players from both teams, but with the Reds staying home, there will be some guys who will sleep well tonight. These have been very, very long, and really up until today, tight, emotional games.
Oh, remember the Reds will not be heading to their homes after this ball game. They've got the bowling event planned today that probably won't be over until 9 o'clock. So some of them probably have been to the ballpark around 8 o'clock this morning. It'll be a long day, and then host the St. Louis Cardinals for 4 games straight.
And that's why you really appreciate when the players come out and do something like this today, because, you know, if you ask them to do something, you know, while the team is home on a night like tonight, when you plan it, you have no idea what the rest of the weekend is going to be. You didn't know the game was going to be a 10-inning game Friday night, 12-inning game yesterday, long game again today. I mean, you know, many of these guys, although not as many for this Reds team because it's such a young team, but, you know, generally they might have friends in town or their family they want to see on a Sunday after an afternoon game, and now they're going to an event to help raise some money for the Reds Community Fund tonight. Just like many will come in, the coaching staff especially, and Brian Price on the 15th of this month, when after the team has been gone for a week, they get a rare off day, and that will be the night we have the night of their own here at the ballpark. And it's not like you can have those kind of events in the wintertime outside of a Reds Fest or something like that, because most of them scatter all across the country. They're not here in the winter.
Well, it'll take a little extra effort, but I think people who are Reds fans who do participate in those ladies that come down to the night of their own, or those that may come out to the bowling event at the Super Bowl over there in northern Kentucky, really appreciate how the Reds connect with their fans, and that's very, very important.
1-2 on Duvall, and he's gone swinging, and the Reds are down to their final out of the game. Oh, sure they do. Oh for 4 day for Scooter Gennett, getting to start out in right field. Astros are beating the Rangers in the 4th inning 6-0, going for their 10th straight win. One and two on Jeanette. Boy, sometimes you just wonder, you know, many say that the momentum changer in baseball from one day to the next is a guy you have on the mound starting that next day's game. And while certainly there is a huge degree of truth to that, as this one is over, what if, you know, the Reds with multiple chances yesterday try to find a way to win that game and couldn't do it? Would it have been a different story here today? 13-8 is the final. And Reds Live will begin right now as the Reds drop 2 of 3 to the Atlanta Braves in this weekend series. Let's go downstairs to Brian Giesenslaw.
Thanks, Tom. You give up 9 runs the first 3 innings. You think that game might be over quickly, but the Reds made a game of it with a comeback late. And when we come back on the post-game show, we have a look at all the highlights. Plus, we head downstairs inside the Reds clubhouse to hear from players. Brian Price and more. Reds Live post-game coming up next.